we need to also know that.
How did they come in first?
We need to know that.
No, how did they? If they came in, but anyway, there is good intention. That's okay.
Exactly.
Of course, yes.
But we need to know.
We need to know
in all of this conversation. Okay. All right. Let's move straight to our next conversation. In regions plagued by persistent unrest, the role of leadership becomes crucial in healing wounds and guiding communities towards peace. The chairman of the Nigerian Governors Forum and Governor of Kwara State, Abdurrahman Abdulrazak, recently visited Plateau State to express condolences over the resurgence of insecurity in the area. He urged local authorities and residents to embrace peace. Meanwhile, the Inspector General of Police, Kaide Egbetokun, has stressed the need to decentralize the police force. He ordered the immediate implementation of community policing nationwide to tackle insecurity in various states. Now let's share the story of the Governors Forum by TVC News' Funam Joshua with you.
Leading the delegation to the Government House in Jos, the state capital, the chairman of the Nigeria's Governors Forum and Governor of Kwara State, Abdulrazak Abdurrahman, acknowledged the effort of both state and federal government, but emphasizes the need for more collaboration and timely intelligence sharing to prevent further reoccurrence. The forum reiterates their commitment to backing the security operatives with the necessary support to tackle all acts of insecurity in the country. The governors of Borno, Bauchi, Benue, and Oyo states, as well as the Deputy Governor of Nasarawa State, were part of the delegation that paid the visit.
This incident is something that should stop and must stop. The circle of violence must stop. Indeed, we thank our security agencies for the work they're doing.
The problem of insecurity is not just a plateau problem, it's a national problem, and we've got to address it as a nation. One of the things we've been discussing in our peer review is the porousness of our borders that has allowed all kinds of elements to come into the country unchecked, and they have corrupted those who are on the inside. Of course, it's not as if there were no criminal tendencies before these people came in, but I think their coming has exacerbated the situation, and we need to look at how to address the issue of the porousness of our borders before it gets far. Today, all our highlands and mountains and forests have all been occupied one way or the other by criminal elements. We need to work together as a nation to reclaim our country.
Stakeholders across the 17 council areas of the state are urged to unite, irrespective of religion or ethnicity, and speak strongly against violence of any kind in the state. Funam Joshua, TVC News, Jos.
So why do you need Dettol 12-hour protective shield?
Why? Come, let me show you. From my husband's germ-filled journey to war, to his daily interaction, touching where everyone has touched, and the sweaty journey back home. What else can give you all day long protection?
Germs are everywhere, but Dettol's 12-hour protective shield shields your family every day,
keeping them safe, healthy, happy, and successful.
Dettol, be 100% sure.
At TVC News, wherever the big news story is happening, we're geared up to break it. TVC News, first with breaking news.
All right, Asuko, let's start this way. The Nigerian Governors Forum, led by the Kwara State Governor, led a solidarity visit to Plateau State, to the people and also to the government. But talk to me, what are your thoughts on this?
I think it's good that they actually went there to, solidarize with, their colleague. It's just a very sad situation that we have found ourselves, because this is a state that has known peace. They celebrated their first Christmas,
yes.
Just some months back, 4 months ago or 5 months ago, and all of a sudden we have gone back to this killing. And then the manner at which these killings, came about, is something that everybody will be angry about.
Absolutely.
Because people are in their sleep, and then you go there, you kill them for no just reason. You understand? And most of the people killed were even children, women, children, the men, all killed while they were sleeping. Sometimes they count bodies. The second attack that happened, I remember the governor coming to say that they are still looking for bodies. So I think it's something that all of them had to come together to say, no, let's go to Plateau. Okay. Let's even get a first-hand information on how these things happen and how we can help. Because the thing is, all the states are all related. Look at something that is happening in Plateau is also happening in Benue. Yeah. You understand? And Benue to Kwara is not far because they are all on the same line. To Kogi, Kogi, so they are all linked. And Bonu too, they are also suffering their own in terms of terrorists.
Yes.
So I think it's something that the visit was welcomed, and thankfully the governor also made instances and suggestions on how the federal government can help.
That's right.
Which is trying to see how they can make sure that our borders are safe and not porous. And then the mountains. He made mention of mountains. I remember one time, some 3, 4, 5 years ago, that I went to Obudu. Okay. The cattle ranch. I was in Obudu. There's a particular spot I was, and you are telling me the other part that you are seeing is Cameroon. That you can't even go there. That sometimes sometimes they come to the Obudu side and then they go back. That is Cameroonians.
Yes.
And you as a Nigerian, if you try to go there, the gendarmes can even arrest you. You understand?
But some people
sometimes they can come. Just like because nobody's checking. You understand? So if you look at
the situation is something that
key
needs to,
because now that we now have harvest season, the rains are falling.
Exactly.
Things like this might happen, and could happen, and might really continue and fester. So the government must find a way. I know that they had the Ministry of Livestock trying to see how this can be checked.
Yes.
But it's like some people just want to continue grazing other people's farms.
Absolutely.
You understand?
Absolutely.
And which is something that we need to stop. Because if the government is saying ranching is a way, which is what everybody all over the world is doing.
To contain them in
why not
place.
do it?
Yeah.
Okay, now the president a couple of days ago gave marching orders to the governor to sort out the cause of the carnage. In your opinion, do you think the governor, Caleb Mutfwang, is doing all the right things that needs to be done? Or you think he's not doing enough?
What's he supposed to do? I mean, when you don't command the military, don't command the police, every time something's happening in a state, you still have to, you call the commander.
He's the chief security officer of the state.
Well, again,
he gets security
I always
votes.
have argument. I think even here, Babajide and I, we've spoken about it. I have an argument I'm also going to reiterate today. Are the governors indeed the chief security officers of their respective or the chief executive officer? I mean, nomenclature matters a lot. Are they? Because if you call somebody the chief executive the chief security officer, chief, I mean, you have to defer to him, and he has to command. If anything is happening, any infraction, he can command any brigade commander in your state to say, okay, this is what, and they have to defer to him. But Mutfwang can't call. I mean, what's the brigade in Jos? I can't. I mean, it's two division. I don't know what the 2D. I don't know. Can Mutfwang call on the brigade commander of the 2D? No, the 2 is not. 2 is in Kaduna. Okay, I can't remember. Okay, don't worry about that. Can he command that to say, okay, go over here without having a recourse to Abuja? So that's why I personally have that argument. The nomenclature, are the governors indeed the chief security officer? It's just not on paper, or are they actually chief executive or chief security? Because somebody who says chief security, I mean, he has to have everything security. He has briefing, he can command, he can deploy, just like the president of Nigeria is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. The states are not commanders-in-chief. So you can't call any governor the chief security officer. That's my argument. And I think that we have to look at it to see what can we do that the government can have a measure? I mean, maybe a modicum level of control over some of these security institutions across.
Okay, but looking at
states.
the actions of the government,
yes.
do you think he's doing the right things that needs to be done?
But I think,
do you think he's helpless?
He's helpless with all this of what I've just told you now. I think he's helpless. I think so, because not only himself. Okay, look at, for instance, the other time that something happened in Edo State, where I come from. What did Obebolo do? Obebolo had to this and all that. The only person they said he could sack is the head of the vigilante. Can Obebolo say, okay, the commissioner of police should be sacked, or can Obebolo? Can he order the redeployment? He can only say, okay, I want the man removed.
Recommend, exactly.
Recommend. If you recommend, are you the chief security officer? If you are recommending, if you can't order the deployment, or sorry, the redeployment and deployment.
All right, let's look at the second version of this conversation. Still on security, the IGP. The IGP has called for decentralization of the police, and implementation of community policing. But talk to me. Do you agree with him?
Well, I would have asked a question, but your job is to ask questions, so I will ask Asuko. Asuko, have we finally got to a place where we have to do this? Don't answer. It's a rhetorical question.
Yes,
are
community
police.
Just go on.
Are we there?
Go ahead. Go ahead. It is my duty to ask.
Because you know why? We've been on this for a long time. But we are still being told that we are not ripe for community or state policing. Are we ripe for it now? I also have a problem where even in as much as it gladdens my heart to see that Police IG has finally seen reasons and seen wisdom to say, okay, let's implement. But I have a problem with the language. Immediate implementation, I have a problem with that language. Because community policing or state policing is not something you order by fiat. Okay? You just wake up one morning and say, okay, go and bring the books. What is the IG, what papers, does it have any policy that it can implement? Question number one. Okay. Question number two, who is going to be responsible for the kitting, promotion, recruitment of all these state police and community police? Who is going to be responsible? Will it be the
states?
Is it the state, the local government, or are you going to decentralize? Maybe as it was hometown, somebody who is from his town that is serving Yobe State. Are you going to recall him to his hometown to now become an Akwa Ibom police?
And then these are critical questions that need to be asked.
I have a problem with that language, immediate implementation.
Yes. I think that is it. So I think the IG saying immediate, that word might be somehow. So because I know that already the governors are already planning for a state police.
Okay. But they'll be mounting it. Are there policy to work on?
That is it. So from there, it starts with that. First, all of them agree that, we need the state police.
Then
from that state police, the so-called implementation, not immediate implementation, you understand, can now come in. So how is it being done elsewhere?
The modalities, exactly.
So you now bring it to Nigerians. Okay, fine, this is how it's being done. From a state police, you have a community police. Because I know even some universities have university police.
Yes, exactly.
You understand? So that we don't just rush into something. At the end of the day, you now say, hey, Shebi, we told you shouldn't have done it that way. So we have to be very careful with how we use our words.
And be very intentional.
Yes,
very intentional.
Of course.
Be very intentional.
Right now, with what is happening, if we have a state police, not being run by IG, because the IG is the one saying
he's the one that's ordering. Good. So see.
So if he's the one ordering, it means that it will still come from federal.
But is it tied to the apron structure?
But if it is run by the governors,
so that is part of the policy.
But not by the governors. No, by the government. There's a difference. Not the governor, but the government.
State government.
Yes, not the government.
Okay, the state government.
Yes,
state government.
Because we are not talking about community. The federal is not. Federal will take care of federal police, and anything. So the state will take care of state police. The local government should be the one in charge of even the community police.
And even the choice of the police commissioners or head of all these, what do you call them, their commands. How do you also come up?
Yeah, because even the DPOs should even come from that community.
So
it's something that they need to sit down to start talking about. I'm very sure security experts would you know.
So who should be at the table
thinking about
when that conversation?
Okay,
is
well, first, Nigeria, I like the fact that Nigeria is decentralized into 6 geopolitical zones, and each of these zones they have their peculiarities in terms of community, culture, and the rest.
Okay.
Now, Southwest minus Lagos already has Amotekun that's working. Now, is there something you can borrow from Amotekun? Maybe you can say, okay, let's use the Amotekun platform to run this.
Okay.
If you go to where the Eastern own is still very controversial, is it a Bubago, is it Eastern, whatever, that's a problem. Then the South doesn't have any, it's only respective to have their own. So that's what I'm saying, that rather than rush into the implementation, let's even do phase-by-phase implementation of it. We can say, from now till December, let's call for a conference. I'm just a conference of people who are experts in this. Amotekun, how are you doing your own? They bring it, then they can send people abroad. How they do it in the US, bring it back. Go to in England, in UK. So we can borrow from Japan, borrow from all these things, and when we come back, we now domesticate it to the one that fits our peculiar situation.
Absolutely.
That's how. Not immediate implementation. I have a problem with that. That's which I swear.
Yes, and peculiar. When we are saying peculiar, we are saying peculiar based on your region. Because,
your region, your culture,
everything, your culture. You understand? So that you don't go and carry a Amotekun and take it to the north. And at the end of the day, they will start saying, "What is this?"
Or you bring Hizbah. You bring Hizbah to
the south.
No, let's not. It will not come to that. It will come to that. But anyway, brilliant conversation from great men right here in the studio. Charles Dell, appreciate you as always.
And
have a good Friday to you. Good Friday to you. How's it going, James?
Happy Good
Friday to you. And also, that's all on Journalist Hangout this week. You can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode later tonight at 11. Join us on Sunday from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. for Journalist Hangouts on Sunday. We are on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Benga Oreshegun. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.